Good morning and welcome to the very sold out 40th Annual Human Rights Awards Breakfast, Marching Forward, Advancing the Dream, brought to you by the Tampa-Hillsborough County Human Rights Council. My name is Mark Nash. I'm the current president of the council, and I'm extremely pleased that you scheduled your time to be with us here today. Each year, the Human Rights Council presents this awards breakfast to coincide with the anniversary of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was proclaimed originally on December 10th, 1948, just a few 65 years ago. Booklets on your table provide that document in its entirety, and they're yours to take with you if you like. It was after the culturally tumultuous times of the late 1960s and had morphed into the equally challenging early 1970s that the city of Tampa had begun a human rights department to help meet the needs of city residents facing discrimination. About that same time that Florida public schools were integrated during the 71-72 school year. In 1974, the City of Tampa's Office of Human Rights and Community Services held its first annual Human Rights Awards celebration in recognition of this Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In 1980, Hillsborough County joined that effort, and in 1983, other area agencies concerned about human rights became actively involved in a year-round effort promoting human rights for all individuals in Tampa and Hillsborough County. Thus, the Tampa-Hillsborough County Human Rights Council was officially born. We chose Marching Forward, Advancing the Dream to commemorate the famous March on Washington for Jobs and Equality in 1963. 50 years ago, this past August, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. declared in his famous speech, "I have a dream." But we've all heard that part of the famous 17-minute speech. But it wasn't until this past August, on the 50th anniversary of that speech, that I had a chance to hear his speech in its entirety for the first time. Yet it was another part of that speech that grabbed my attention. The part where King said that we should not be judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. And that all Americans, black and white, have a stake in a country that values fairness, inclusion, and equality. But what stood out the most to me is this quote: "The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied to our destiny, and that they have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead and we cannot turn back." End of quote. Yes, we cannot turn back.
Amen.
So that path that we've all walked to get us to where we are here today has had many trailblazers leading the way. You will hear some wonderful stories today of people and organizations doing really wonderful work in our community, and that's what the awards portion of our program will be about. Our original keynote speaker, Richard Cohen, found his way to Tampa on Wednesday night and unfortunately became quite ill, and it was necessary for him to return to Alabama late yesterday. In his place, we will hear from David Utter, who is the Policy and Legislative Director for the Southern Poverty Law Center's Florida office. So the SPLC will be represented here today. And David, thank you for filling in. David is well versed on all of the great work that the SPLC is doing and has done, but with a special emphasis on how it relates to our home state. David, again, welcome to Tampa. Dave is visiting us from Miami, and we thank you again for being here today. It would be my hope that you might make a new friend today, and this is everybody in the room, or learn about an opportunity to make Hillsborough County and the surrounding area a better place to live, work, play, and learn. And look around, we have a full room. Thank you all for being here this morning. We are sold out. Thanks. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the Council's Executive Board and our membership for all the great teamwork that has gone into helping put this breakfast together. Our board members, Norma Reno, Vice President. I saw you, Norma. There we have Norma Reno. Janet Blair is our Secretary. Please stay standing. Anne-Marie Moulin, Anne-Marie, and Raquel Leonard. Where are you, Raquel? Raquel. Where is she? There she is over there. Thank you all. Thank you all very, very much for your great support. Norma, stay standing for a moment because Norma Reno and Stacy Blake Collins, our newlywed here in the room, helped to be the spearheading of this breakfast and are our co-chairs this morning. Norma, thank you again. And Stacy, thank you. And Tony, congratulations, you two married guys, you. So as you can tell, this event is a labor of love for us. Again, 40 years strong, and we look forward to next year's event in 2014. All right, so here's the part of the program where I can get in a lot of trouble trying to identify important people in the room. You're all important, and I appreciate you being here. But we have elected officials who have joined us this morning. I'm going to first ask, if you are a candidate for public office, would you quickly just stand up and give a wave so that people can see who's running for public office in this next election cycle? We have some former electeds here. I know I saw former County Commissioner Jan Platt. If you are a former elected official from Hillsborough County or from any part of the Bay Area, please rise and be recognized now. Where are you, Jan? Linda Salset in the back. Jan Platt, you all. I know there's some Tampa City Council members in the house. Would you please rise and be recognized? We have some members of our school board also here this morning. School board members, please rise and be recognized. I know there are current Hillsborough County judges in the room. Please rise and be recognized. I believe I saw a Hillsborough County Commissioner in the room. Would you please rise and be recognized, Commissioner Beckner? We have county constitutional offices. I see Pat Frank already standing, but our county constitutionals, Bob Enriquez, Julianne Holt, thank you all for your service to our community. State representatives, I believe I saw Janet Cruz and Betty Reed here. Please stand and be recognized. We have some district office representatives from, I know, Kathy Castor's office, Chloe Coney. I saw the hat. There you are, Chloe. I think I caught everybody. If I did not, would you stand and be recognized? All right, we're rolling now, right? So we'd like to ask Carol Curdell, who is chairwoman of the Hillsborough County School Board, to please come forward. She has a few words to share with us this morning. Ms. Curdell.
Since we have such a packed agenda this morning, I have a proclamation from the school board, but I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. And I appreciate the opportunity, Mark, to recognize the human rights community and certainly the council. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Hillsborough County School Board applauds and supports the efforts of Tampa-Hillsborough Human Rights Council to help preserve, protect, and perpetuate the rights of each individual to freedom, dignity, and pride. Congratulations today. We are so proud of you. Thank you, Mark.
So it's always nice to have a moment to reflect and realize I forgot a few people. I know we have some public safety representation in the room. Always happy to have Chief Castor, Tampa Police Chief Castor and her team here with us today. Thank you, Chief. Tampa Fire Rescue Chief Tom Forward and his team are also represented today. Thank you, Chief Forward. I know we have some representatives from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department. Ronnie Rivera, who's the Public Relations Director. Gentlemen, where are you with the Sheriff's Department? Please rise and be recognized. I know I saw Ronnie come in here. There we go. There we go. Thanks, guys. And I'll still have a moment if I've forgotten anybody else, but we'll do another proclamation now. Digna Alvarez, I hope she's in the room. I didn't see her earlier. There we are. Hi, Digna, from U.S. Senator Bill Nelson, our Florida Senator. This is District Representative Digna Alvarez with a proclamation from Senator Nelson's office. Welcome, Digna.
Good morning. Wow, what a great looking crowd. Okay, I promise you this will be short. Dear friends, thank you for inviting me to attend the 40th Annual Human Rights Awards breakfast. Although I am unable to celebrate with you today, I want to recognize the Tampa-Hillsborough County Human Rights Council's dedication to protecting and promoting the rights of all of those who live in Hillsborough County. The Council's work over the past 40 years has been truly commendable. And I want to thank all your members for their tireless efforts to improve the lives of those around them. I also want to congratulate all the honorees recognized this morning for their commitment to strengthening human rights in their community. Best wishes for a great event, much future success, and happy holidays. Sincerely, Bill Nelson. Thank you.
And I did forget somebody else. We had somebody make the long, I'm sure they left yesterday, trek from St. Petersburg to come join us. And newly elected St. Petersburg City Councilwoman Darden Rice has also joined us today. I believe you'll be sworn in on January 2nd, is that correct? So you're Councilwoman-elect, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thanks, Darden. Thanks for being here. And if I've forgotten anybody else, whispers are always good, and come find me, okay? Thank you. I did remember that. Mary Ellen Ely, I apologize. I had a note to self not to forget. Our school superintendent, Hillsborough County, Mary Ellen Ely, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that Kelly Paris with the Children's Board is in the room. Could I ask her to come forward, please? We're going to move an honoree forward who is not able to be with us today, but he has asked Kelly Paris, come on up top here, Kelly, to join us this morning. She's the executive director of the Children's Board. Jack Levine is not going to be able to, Jack Levine is not going to be able to be joining us today. Kelly has a short morning, so we're going to get her on her way in just a while, but she's here to step in for Jack. Jack is being honored today with a Human Rights Hall of Fame award, and we're going to give that to him now. Thank you for being here. So Jack Levine is our first inductee this morning, and Jack is being recognized for his longtime advocacy for Florida's children through his statewide network, Voices for Florida's Children, and his founding 4 Generations Institute, an intergenerational policy and program initiative that benefits the youth in our state, their grandparents, and their parents. The key objectives of the Institute are to identify model intergenerational programs and projects to expand the impact of quality mentoring and volunteer initiatives, and to cultivate an environment to nurture communications across the generations. Jack advocates investments in prevention programs that serve across the ages and stages of life, and is a supporter of the Children's Board of Hillsborough County since its founding in 1989. Congratulations, Jack, for your commitment to the people in our state, our young people in our state, and we thank you. And as I mentioned, accepting for Jack this morning is Kelly Paris. She's the executive director of your Children's Board and a 20-year friend of our honoree. Thank you for being here, Kelly, on behalf of Jack Levine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. All right. Here in the United States of America, we have so much to be grateful for. And often we see that most when we encounter someone new to our country who reminds us to cherish the freedom that we all take for granted. It is in that spirit each year that we ask a new American citizen to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance at this breakfast. This year we invited Trung Nguyen, who is originally from Vietnam, who just became an American citizen last month. And he too was so looking forward to being here, but had to fill in at work at the last minute. We've had quite a few curveballs in the last 24 hours, so we've got improvise and evolve pretty well down here, folks. So in his place, I'd like to introduce Zdenka Bakvik. Zdenka, please come forward, who is now the director of the Suncoast Citizenship Program at United Methodist Cooperative Ministries, the program where Trung studied for his citizenship test. And Zdenka herself is a fairly new citizen to America. And she's originally from the former Yugoslavia, which she fled as a refugee in 1994. Zdenka, thank you again for being here, will now lead us all. If you'll stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Zdenka. And remain standing. That was a joke. I'd like to invite Pastor Debbie Moss from Unity of Tampa to please come forward and lead us in an opening prayer.
Let us all join together in creating a sacred space for the wonderful work done here today. I invite each of you to turn within and connect with the spirit of that which you consider holy. As we acknowledge the spirit of the universe, known and called by many names, we give thanks for this new day and the opportunity to begin again. We pray to be freed from any limitations of yesterday and ask for the strength, courage, and wisdom to see the light within ourselves and all others. We acknowledge that we are all children of the universe, woven together in the fabric of our lives and equally loved by you. One in spirit, we remember Dr. King's words, "What happens to one of us happens to all of us." Bless us as we work together on our shared goal of equality, justice, opportunity, and fairness for everyone in our global community. May your spirit go with us and lift our minds to ever higher realms of truth. We are grateful. So it is, and amen.
Good morning. Buenos días. My name is Norma Reno, and I am the Vice President of the Tampa-Hillsborough Human Rights Council and the co-chair for this event. The primary purpose of the Tampa-Hillsborough Human Rights Council is to advocate and promote through education, publicity, negotiations, and other means the legitimate rights and human rights of all residents of Hillsborough County, whenever feasible. The Council works in cooperation with and in support of established community agencies, groups that are dedicated to the defense of these rights and its memberships and actions. I am a member of the Tampa-Hillsborough Human Rights Council because I know I am working with a dedicated group of people who are working to create a better community for all of us. On each table are membership forms that I invite you to become a member of the Human Rights Council. Please consider joining our organization today. Thank you. And now I'm going to call my co-chair, my breakfast co-chair, Stacy Blake. Welcome, Stacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Thanks all of you for being here. It is wonderful to see this dream come true and have a full room for such an important event, our annual Human Rights Awards breakfast. I have the honor of introducing David Utter, and I really want to appreciate you so much personally, David, for stepping up under a challenging set of circumstances, and I appreciate you being here. Let me tell you a little bit about David. He's a graduate of Emory University with a degree in history. He has his JD from University of Florida, Levin Law School. Oh, now let's not start. David has spent his entire legal career in the public interest, representing indigent individuals throughout the South. From 1990 till 2007, his work focused on the improvement of prison conditions in southern states. He initially worked with broader problems for all prisoners, but later focused on the conditions specific to the juvenile justice system in the same southern states. He came to the Southern Poverty Law Center in 2008. He's based in Miami, and again, let us give him a warm welcome.
Good morning. I want to thank the Tampa-Hillsborough Human Rights Council for allowing me to speak, but most of all for the years of work advocating for and promoting the human rights of all residents of Hillsborough County. What a great honor it is to be with you on this, the 40th anniversary of the Human Rights Awards breakfast, and how telling of your dedication to young people and children that so many of today's awards are going to individuals and groups that advocate for kids. I want to begin by acknowledging that I'm not Richard Cohen, nor am I Morris Dees, which, truth be told, was the first choice of Mark to come speak. Richard came down with a nasty bug and is home getting medical treatment, but he wanted me to convey his regrets at not being here. He promised a rain check if you'll have him, and I'll leave it to him when he comes back to tell you of all the amazing victories and really landmark legal decisions that he and Morris have been part of. I know many of you support the SPLC and came to see him, and he really feels awful about not being here. More importantly, we want to thank you for all that you do for the SPLC, because but for your contributions and support, we would not be able to do the work that we do. I'd like to talk today about work at the center that we see as a tremendously important civil rights issue, juvenile justice. It's fortuitous that the SPLC and Human Rights Council have come together at this moment in time, for we're at the cusp of incredibly important reform in Florida. When SPLC came to Florida in 2008, then Governor Crist's Blueprint Commission on Juvenile Justice was just wrapping up its work. What the commission reported, in government agency speak, of course, so I paraphrase, is that Florida's juvenile justice system was badly broken and utilized policies and practices that oftentimes destroyed the young people and families that it brought into it. It also found that the negative impact of these policies disproportionately impacted children of color. For example, at the time of the report, African American youth made up 51% of Florida's vast juvenile prison system, yet only 21% of the general population. When you consider that 75% of the kids that go into the juvenile justice system, that the juvenile prison system, reoffend within 5 years, the racial disparities become all the more important. 5 years later, Florida's made strides toward reform, but those strides are baby steps when compared to the rest of the country. As the current leadership of the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice pushes to change the misguided and failed policies of the past, leadership here in Hillsborough continues to embrace old, harmful, and expensive responses to juvenile crime. We need your help to save our kids and make our community safer. I'd like to talk about the juvenile justice system, let you know what is happening here in Hillsborough and across the state, and finish with how you can help. This past session, Florida spent, the Florida legislature appropriated over $500 million to the Department of Juvenile Justice. That does not include the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that we spend locally. when we talk about the juvenile justice system, it really is a system in name only. That is, there are so many different actors in it: police, prosecutors, judges, the State Department of Juvenile Justice, that failed policies and practices are allowed not only to continue, but to flourish. There are 4 major points in the system, and Florida fails our kids at every one. The first is arrest. There were over 58,000 kids arrested in Florida last year, and over 4,300 here in Hillsborough. Half of our county's children were arrested for a misdemeanor, things like petty theft and simple battery. What we know about arresting kids is that a single arrest of a high school student nearly doubles the odds that they're going to drop out of school. If they have to go to court one time for that arrest, the odds increase by 4. They quadruple the odds that they're going to drop out. Now, the failure of a high school dropout has obviously enormous impacts on the child who drops out, but it also costs us billions in dollars in lost wages, not even counting the expenses of prisons and jails and other social costs. Here in the Tampa area, there are almost 2,200 kids arrested for a misdemeanor last year, many for the first time. Research shows that by diverting those children from the juvenile justice system, holding them accountable, and imposing a swift and sure consequence but not arresting them leads to better outcomes and safer, more prosperous communities. The second point of the system is detention. What do you do with the child who commits a serious offense that must be arrested, but before the trial? In Florida last year, 20,000 kids went into secure detention, Florida's version of juvenile jail. This is in spite of research that shows that using alternatives to detention, keeping kids out of jail and monitoring them in their home and community leads to less crime and better outcomes for kids. Yet in Tampa, even though we are a pilot site for a nationally successful Annie E. Casey Foundation initiative called JDAI, there were 2,550 kids admitted to DJJ's juvenile jail in 2012. As the rest of the country and 20 years of practice by other jurisdictions using JDAI have been effective at reducing the use of juvenile jail, have improved public safety outcomes across the board, law enforcement here in Tampa derides JDAI as, quote, an experiment. The third point in the system is the juvenile prison system. It's called residential care here in Florida. We're going to spend over $180 million this year on kids adjudicated delinquent, that is, found guilty. Research shows that this money is not well spent. As I said earlier, 75% of those kids will reoffend within 5 years after release. That's not only a tremendous waste of money, but it also makes us less safe. For each of those reoffenses is another victim of crime. Worse, even though decades of research shows that placing low-level offenders in such places increases the likelihood that they'll commit another crime, 45% of the kids that went into the juvenile justice prison system last year went in for a misdemeanor or a non-law violation of probation. Stuff like skipping school, missing curfew, or disobeying their parents' orders. Last year in Hillsborough County, 188 kids were committed to the juvenile justice prison. An astonishing 112 were sent for a misdemeanor or a violation of probation. The fourth point in the system I want to talk about is children tried as adults. According to the best available data, Florida leads the United States in the practice of transferring kids to the adult prison system. As reform on this human rights issue has swept the country, law enforcement here and in Tallahassee claim that the juvenile justice system is inappropriate for some kids. Now, who here thinks that the adult prison system in Florida has the tools and programs needed to educate, rehabilitate, and keep children safe? Florida makes no bones about its tough, punitive adult prison system. Our state political leaders have made certain that GED and other educational programs are in scarce supply at the adult level. And the research shows exactly what we expect. children who go into the adult system reoffend at greater rates and commit more harmful crimes than do kids who stay in the juvenile justice system. This is where Hillsborough really stands out in its addiction to bad policy. We sent 234 youth into the adult criminal system last year. No other county in Florida throws more children away. To compare, Miami-Dade, with 110,000 more children than Hillsborough, sent 208 kids. Broward, with almost 50,000 more kids than we have, only sent 161. Now, the worst part in my mind of this juvenile justice system is the racial disparities. We know what works to get at-risk and delinquent kids back on track, but we continue to adhere to the status quo, and sound reforms like those advocated by the Blueprint Commission 5 years ago are fought mightily in Tallahassee and oftentimes here in Tampa. The fact of the matter is that Florida remains the Deep South, and policies that make us feel good, like arresting kids and locking them up to hold them accountable, continue to hold tremendous sway in Tallahassee and over the Hillsborough juvenile justice system. You will hear Florida's law enforcement officials claim that race has nothing to do with any of the decisions to arrest, detain, incarcerate, and transfer our youth. And that may be true. But I believe that if our juvenile justice system was populated with white middle-class kids, the outrage and cry for reform would be deafening. The facts here in Hillsborough are these. Although African American youth only make up 23% of the population, they account for 47% of the arrests. 63% of the children sent to DJJ's vast prison system, and a heartbreaking 53% of the kids transferred to the adult system. One only need open your eyes to see the racism in this system, the structural racism, and that in order to fulfill the mission of the Human Rights Council and the SPLC, we must follow the data and the research and stop the madness that is this current juvenile justice system. Here's the important part. Here's how you can help. There are two very good reasons to engage in juvenile justice reform. The first is the reason that I've dedicated my career to. Decades of brain research shows that our teenage years are marked by tremendous growth in the frontal lobe of our brains, the area that controls what is known as the executive functions: planning, impulse control, and reasoning. Anyone with teenagers knows this anecdotally, right? And so as I reflect on my adolescence and count the crimes I committed due to poor judgment, a desire for thrills and instant gratification, and an inability, and to what seemed like my father, an unwillingness to consider the consequences of my actions, it is a wonder I was never arrested in high school. But it's not really a wonder. For the fact of the matter is that we as a society are unwilling to provide teenagers the breaks, the opportunities to make mistakes and learn from them without destroying their lives like we did when I was a kid. Further, we are particularly unwilling to allow black and brown children, especially if they are poor, the same breaks we provide white, middle, and upper class kids. That is not justice, that is not equal opportunity, and that is un-American. But there's another reason to support juvenile justice reform. Florida and Hillsborough's insistence on arresting rather than diverting low-level offenders, and its addiction to incarceration and harsh punitive treatment for kids who commit serious offenses does not make us safer. Decades of research shows that the best thing you can do is support diversion programs like civil citation, a program available here in Tampa, but horribly underutilized. The same is true of detention. 20 years of the Casey Foundation's JDAI shows that by keeping kids out of jail using proven alternatives to detention to monitor them and ensure that they show up for their court appearances improves public safety and saves money. Finally, for those small percentage of kids who need to be taken out of their community because they're a true risk to public safety, small, therapeutic, home-like facilities like they have in Missouri are effective and have recidivism rates the inverse of Florida's. As I noted earlier, we have a Secretary of State, a Secretary of our State Department of Juvenile Justice who understands the issues and is willing to base policies on data and research rather than anecdote and shrill argument. She needs help, though, for with every move toward reform, she's opposed by folks that either don't get it, refuse to consider the data and the research, would rather score political points, or have a financial stake in the status quo. Indeed, the most expensive and least effective part of the state juvenile justice system, the quote, residential bed system, is 100% privatized. Not all are for-profit, but most are. And the entire industry has what seems like an army of lobbyists defending the current system and the laws that feed it. That is why over dozens of leaders of Hillsborough's faith community have come together and formed the Tampa Interfaith Coalition for Juvenile Justice, TIC for JJ. TIC for JJ supports juvenile justice reform based on what works and was fair to all kids. For now, we are supporting 4 reforms. Number 1, civil citation or diversion for all children who commit a first-time misdemeanor. Number 2, aggressive execution of the Casey Foundation's JDAI to limit secure detention of those youth for whom it is absolutely necessary and utilize alternatives to detention whenever possible. Number 3, Hillsborough must stop sending its children into the damaging, ineffective, and expensive juvenile prison system and demand more alternatives, programs that serve youth in their community and families and provide enrichment, education, and mentoring when needed. Such community-based alternatives are not only much more effective at lowering reoffense rates, they are vastly less expensive than incarceration. Hillsborough's taxpayers and our children deserve these proven community-based sanctions. Our leaders must work to shut down the expensive and ineffective juvenile prison system and reinvest those dollars in effective community-based programs through an inclusive process that works with community and local programs, including a strong faith community and other community-based organizations. And finally, and critically, Hillsborough's got to stop transferring so many kids in the adult system. Tampa must turn 180 degrees and stop from being the leader of sending children into this system and start leading the state to keep these kids in the juvenile justice system. These are difficult times for our state on this issue. The kids in the justice system are easily demonized. Their pictures quickly splayed across the news to score political points and scare the public. It is time, however, to finish the good work that Governor Christ and the Blueprint Commission started back in 2007. All these kids are worth fighting for. And we created the misguided policies and practices that are so ineffective, expensive, and damaging. And we can and must change them back. I want to finish with a quote by James Baldwin that has guided my work over a decade I've been working on this. For these are all of our children, and we will profit by and pay for what they become. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. One minor detail follow-up here of housekeeping. The council's year has been busy involved in the community and connecting where it makes the most sense. We had a great opportunity in August to partner with WEDU as they produced a wonderful program, a documentary on the March on Washington as it pertained to the big event and to the people locally who participated in that. I think Joyce Cotton, the marketing director at WEDU, is here. Joyce, would you just stand up and say hi to everybody? A tremendous event at the Tampa Theater, and we thank you, Joyce. We were happy to be one of the sponsors for that event. We also are participating in the scholarship arena in the county. We know college educations are becoming much more challenging. Herman Ruiz is sitting over here at table 19. Herman, would you rise, please? He is our recipient of our 2013 scholarship here for Hillsborough County that the council provided him. Herman, thank you for being here this morning. I'm going to introduce Torian Wong now. Torian is a 2008 recipient of the Eddie Mitchell Memorial Award and is going to be helping us with the presentation of our awards this morning. Please welcome Torian Wong.
Thank you. I really enjoyed those messages that we were given. So as we kind of get into the awards here, I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to celebrate and honor our award recipients and honorees this morning with some action of our own in recognition of the action that they're doing in our communities right now. What I would like for you to do is search for a card that looks like this on your table. Because before you leave this morning, we would like you to take a good look at it, and we would like you to fill it out if you indeed would like to take some concrete, tangible action in the Tampa Bay community as in regard to human rights. We are on the verge of doing that. I heard very resoundingly that you need our help, and we want to help. Not only with this, but with every issue that involves human rights, and we're going to take some tangible, concrete action for this, and if you would like to be a part of this, this is an opportunity for you to do that along with us, okay? And if you are able, I would like you to repeat after me. We march. We march. We march. We march. To advance the dream. To advance the dream. I want you to hold that with you as we get into celebrating and honoring our recipients this morning, that our action is tied with their action, and together we are going to take a collective action that is going to indeed make this community a better place. So, with that being said, our first award this morning is the Youth Leadership Award, and that is being presented to Nagar Sabet. An Iranian national, Nagar and her family immigrated to America a little over 3 years ago because her family was being persecuted for practicing their faith, which is the Baha'i religion. As a child, Nagar's family attended Baha'i meetings in secret to avoid harassment by government officers. When Nagar came to Tampa Bay as a high school sophomore, she spoke very little English. Last May, Nagar graduated third in her class from Pinellas Park High School, speaking fluent English and knowing some Spanish too. She is now attending a local college and continues to volunteer countless hours helping other Iranian refugees who now live in Tampa Bay. Nagar is a graduate of Community Tampa Bay's Anytown program and works closely with the Tampa Bay Refugee Task Force to promote community awareness of refugees and human rights issues locally. Nagar often concludes her presentation saying, "I just want to say that no matter where you are from, what language you speak, what culture you have, we are all human beings. We are not less than anyone else in the world, and we can do whatever we've always dreamed to do, and we can make the world a better place to live in." Thank you, Nagar, and congratulations. Our Youth Leadership Award winner of 2013. Yes, we're celebrating here this morning. The Human Rights Award category has multiple honorees this morning. Our first is Pace Center for Girls, Hillsborough. And accepting today is Executive Director Tanya Hollins. PACE is a community-based, non-residential prevention, diversion, and early prevention program in the state of Florida. PACE serves over 2,000 girls annually from 17 locations around the state as an alternative to incarceration by providing therapeutic support services, individualized and group counseling, a gender-specific management curriculum, academic education, individualized attention, parental involvement, community service, and 3 years of follow-up transitional services. PACE supports the state of Florida's mission by preventing juvenile delinquency, teen pregnancy, substance abuse, academic failure, and welfare dependency. PACE reduces the number of girls entering the juvenile justice system and reduces the significant long-term costs associated with these issues that challenge girls in our communities. Thank you, Tanya Hollins and PACE Hillsborough, for your great work in giving girls a chance here in Hillsborough County. Congratulations. Our second Human Rights Award is being presented to the First Tee of Tampa Bay. And here to accept is Lionel Ballard and Executive Director Ian Baxter. This program dates back to 1991, when it began as Urban Junior Golf at Rogers Park Golf Course in Tampa. The concept was to offer affordable and accessible golf opportunities to children from moderate socioeconomic backgrounds and to use the inherent social and recreational values associated with the game to shape the lives of area youth. In 1998, Urban Junior Golf became an official First Tee chapter. First Tee uses the game of golf to provide area youth with the chance to develop life-enhancing values like confidence, perseverance, and judgment. The program also teaches goal setting, develops interaction skills, and staying healthy in all of its programs. We congratulate the First Tee of Tampa Bay for providing this exciting and meaningful program to area youth. Congratulations. We're still celebrating. Our next Human Rights Award is being presented to Pat and Lynn Mulder. In 2007, Pat and Lynn's son, Ryan Keith Skipper, was murdered in Polk County because of his sexual orientation. Ryan was an openly gay man. Pat and Lynn chose the high road in dealing with Ryan's untimely death, and they started a foundation to help teach people about diversity in their community and to honor their son. The Ryan Keith Skipper Foundation was founded to help teach tolerance and to gain a deeper understanding for diversity in the communities in which we all live. Thank you, Pat and Lynn, for honoring your community with this work in the memory of your son, Ryan Keith Skipper. Congratulations to both of you. Our next Human Rights Award is being presented to Men of Vision. And I'd like to ask the program's founder, Ross Anderson, to step forward. Come on up. In 2006, Ross Anderson founded Men of Vision at Slide Middle School in Hillsborough County. There was a profound need for mentorship directed towards male youth who were often angry, fatherless, disenchanted with school, and on the verge of giving up. Men of Vision was created to provide a place for inner city male youth to work through these life challenges. Men of Vision focuses on mentoring and tutoring these young men to learn to respect themselves, their peers, and their community by serving others. Community service and a focus on academics are core program principles. The mission includes the introduction of young men to new ideas and opportunities that they can share with their friends and peers to build relationship skills, communication skills, and to appreciate different cultures. Ross Anderson, thank you for creating this inspiring program and for making a difference in the lives of our community's middle and high school aged boys. Congratulations. The recipient of the 2013 Eddie Mitchell Memorial Award is Robert Brinkman. I'd like to ask Miss Erica Mitchell and her son Eric, Eddie Mitchell's daughter and grandson, to step forward. I'd also like to ask Judy Douglas, Eddie Mitchell's sister, to join us as well. Okay. Eddie Mitchell was a longtime City of Tampa employee, instrumental in helping to keep the peace among city residents following the race riots during the summer of 1967. Mr. Mitchell participated in the White Hats program and Model City Federal program that helped to keep the peace in our community. As the top vote getter in the Human Rights Award category in the balloting this past November, you are being recognized with this award. Robert Brinkman is one of the founders of the SSOH, the Secret Society of the Open Hand. This group was formed over a decade ago, was formed to help raise money for people who came upon hard times. Each month, Brinkman and others hosted a potluck dinner where money was raised and ideas were exchanged for how to distribute the funds. Each month, the funds collected were given to an individual or group in need. The money was also given secretly so that there was no sense of obligation. People would find books for schools in their mailboxes, cash for a trip to see a sick relative, or money for medicine for a sick child, or for food, or for rent. The group raised thousands of dollars and worked quietly in the community to address issues of immediate need. Brinkman also works on environmental issues in the community and did the lead research on pollution in soils in the city of Tampa. His work on street sweeping and stormwater pollution, as well as work on environmental justice issues throughout Tampa Bay, are well recognized. He is currently working with the United Nations in developing a global sustainable development report that will usher in a new generation of development goals that will lead to the expansion of human rights around the world. Congratulations, Robert Brinkman, this year's Eddie Mitchell Memorial Award winner. The 2013 Hank Warren Memorial Award is being presented to Tampa City Councilwoman Yvonne Yoli-Capine. In 2012, the Tampa City Council gave final approval for the first domestic partnership registry for unmarried couples in Tampa Bay. Initiated by Ms. Capine, this registry began a wave of similar action in other parts of the region. Said Capine, "This is a gift to my grandchildren and other children growing up here, so that we can value fairness and equality in Tampa." The registry received unanimous support from the Tampa City Council. Congratulations, Councilwoman Capine. Here to accept the award this morning is Jessica Lynn Capine and Miles Capine, Yoli's daughter and grandson. And very quickly, if we can again give a nice, large, welcome, celebrating round of applause for all of our winners. Thank you very much.
So another one of those moments when you maybe do a little improvising, and Torian, as I said, has been involved with the community, and we honored him in 2008, and we wanted to break him in here at the 40th Annual Human Rights Awards Breakfast. Torian Wan, thank you very much. You did a great job. So we have a special recognition here this morning. Again, the program, Marching Forward, Advancing the Dream. Such an amazing time, 1963 had to be. 50 years ago, there was a call for change was made in America. A call for a transformation on equality and fairness in our country. You see, not all Americans have the same opportunity for jobs, education, the vote, and to participate in American society. Many of us recall this great March on Washington for Jobs and Equality. Even if we didn't witness this event live, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, and America took notice. Given the challenging times of the early 1960s, who would rise to answer this call, be counted, to stand up for these new ideas and principles taking shape in America? We now know that a great deal of work went into crafting the plan to march on Washington. There were no emails. There were no tweets. There were no texts to alert the masses that the time had come for change. It took grassroots activism, phone calls, knocking on doors, talking to friends and neighbors to gather the troops necessary to answer the call. And fortunately for all of us, answer the call they did. I'm about to introduce to you local residents, regular people, who heard that call and found their way to our nation's capital to stand up for fairness and equality in 1963. A time when TVs and newspapers depicted black bodies hanging from trees, when water hoses were blasting peaceful demonstrators standing for equality. These are just some of the people who answered the call for change. And as I read your name, would you please come to the front? Geraldine Rhodes Smith. Jerry, as her friends call her, was living in Washington, D.C. at the time, attending Howard University. Already vested in the movement since age 14, Jerry had attended other marches, but this was a true eye-opener for the rest of the country, and it was the important next step for the country to make the necessary changes for full equality for all Americans. Just stand and be comfortable, Jerry. As comfortable as you can be in front of 400 people. Mrs. Leola Butler. Leola was living in West Palm Beach, Florida, and a newlywed at the time. Mrs. Butler's husband and her best friend and she tried to raise enough money to take the train to Washington for the march. Since no one raised enough individually to make that trip, they pooled their money. And since Mrs. Butler raised the most amongst the three, she got the other 2 shares. The Freedom Train, along with other members of the Junior and NAACP who greatly influenced her activism, are a lot of the reason why she made the trip. She remembers the sea of people in a joyous and celebratory mood, enjoying the moment in awe of great speakers, knowing in her heart that this was a bellwether moment in time. Over the years, Mrs. Butler was honored that she was present for an event that was bigger than any one person. Bill McLeod, would you please come forward? Bill? Although Sarasota was Bill's home, he was in the Army, stationed in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. I hope I said that correctly, Bill. All the local bases in the D.C. area had been put on alert. They were told the march was coming and likely mayhem was to pursue, and that was to descend upon Washington, D.C. Bill was a part of a security team sent to keep order, but his presence created great conflict. He was a soldier sent to keep the peace, but as a black man, he so wanted to participate and help the cause. Bill just knew that this was an important moment in history and was grateful it was peaceful and without arrest. Amen. John Hartman, would you please come forward? John Hartman was living in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and a senior at Harvard studying sociology. He took the bus with other participants, mainly from the Boston NAACP. John had received a letter from a friend of his who was jailed in southwest Georgia for being a part of SNCC, the SNCC. And his story drove John to participate in the march. John said that he just wanted to stand up and be counted as someone who wanted the country to fulfill its promise to all of its citizens. Althea Karande Lee. Althea? Althea was living in Brooklyn with her parents and attending City College of New York. She took the train to D.C. with Union District number 65, the RWDSU. She had been volunteering with Bayard Rustin in New York to help organize the march. She said that we were all part of a massive movement, a God plan to change our country and the world, and that you did, Althea. Ulysses Brooks. Mr. Brooks, would you please come forward? And I should say, no intended integrating or segregating men and boys here. I want to point that out, so guys, don't get me in any trouble here, you guys, all right? Ulysses was living in Tampa with neighbors who had taken him in when his mother had unexpectedly passed away at age 37. He had participated in the downtown marches in Tampa and was part of the NAACP Youth Council with such legendary names as Bob Saunders, Leon Lowry, and Gwen Powell. They drove in a convoy to D.C., but broke down in South Georgia. That's an oops moment there, right? But they caught a lucky break when a member of the group had a local family member that helped them get back on the road. Nice. But they arrived in D.C. the next morning, but were too late to catch the White House tour that had been organized for the group. He believed that he was doing the right thing to let the nation know what was going on, and having the TV show the programming to help the public understand and see the wrong that was being inflicted on a people was important, just because of the color of their skin. Ulysses was mentally prepared to die for this cause, and he believed in it with his entire being. Peter, would you stand on this side for me over here, please? Peter Zinneber. Peter W. Zinneber was an undergrad at this little school north of here called the University of Florida. Originally from St. Petersburg, Pete was moved to action from newspaper coverage, and he drove with his girlfriend, at the time, Cynthia, in his VW Beetle. That had to be a lot of fun. Leaving right after work on Friday, driving straight through to D.C., arriving on Saturday. Pete had an overwhelming feeling of hope and optimism and wanted to see the country move towards integration and racial conciliation. He was happy to have been there and could not possibly have known then how important that day would ultimately become. But he had to be there. The march was a moment, perhaps the moment, for nonviolent change that was needed so very badly in our country. Today we salute you for your convictions, your courage, your tenacity, and your desire to be the change that you wanted to see in your country and in your world. Although this event, our breakfast, and this recognition is a small act of appreciation, we thank you for doing your part, helping make America a better place for all of us. We congratulate each one of you for being selected into the Human Rights Hall of Fame. Our gratitude is eternal. So we're close to wrapping up here. If you all would mind staying standing forward, I'd appreciate it. Just some closing remarks as we wrap our breakfast. On behalf of the council, our executive board, thank you all so very much for, I know when that alarm clock went off this morning, you may not have said very nice things about me, but I hope it was all worth it, and we appreciate you all being here. For I don't know how many years in a row, we've been coming to the DoubleTree. Kim Park, who's the catering director here. Joyce, I don't know if you're close by, but wonderful folks to work with here at the DoubleTree. I hope your meal was okay. I started cooking that bacon about 3 o'clock this morning, so I hope it was good. And we just really appreciate the great partnership that we have here with the DoubleTree Hotel. 2014 is soon to be upon us, you all. We have some important decisions to make in Florida as we elect new leadership from the governorship all the way through to our school boards and our city councils and our county commissions. And in 2010, the last time we voted for a governor, the voter turnout in the state of Florida decreased by 1/3 from the presidential year. For those of you who aren't particularly happy by the result of that, we see where we have an opportunity to improve that. And getting out the vote is incredibly important. A small confession: as I was pulling into the breakfast this morning at 6:30 with my mother, I said, "Mom, oops." She looked at me, "What'd we forget?" And the medals that you all are wearing around your neck and a certain something I have up here were left in my kitchen. And Mom, where are you? Mom, there, got your back to me. There she is. Stand up, Mom. That's my mom. That's my mom. My mom drove back to my home in Lithia and picked up the medals and picked up the things that we had forgotten. And I got to tell you, I lost my dad 10 years ago. Still hurts today. But I'm so very blessed to have my mom in my life, and she supports me in the community that I work in, and I'm very thankful for that. Thank you, Mom. So if you have your phones out again, December 12th, 2014 will be the 41st annual Tampa-Hillsborough County Human Rights Awards breakfast. I promise you we will be out in the community and finding the amazing organizations and individuals and people whose life work in this community has made a difference for all of us, whether you know it or not. And I think you heard some pretty amazing stories today. Can we congratulate all of our winners today? If you received an award today, would you please come forward? I know there's a lot of folks that would like to take pictures. If you all would continue to stay up front and greet some of the people who I'm sure would like to come and see you, please come forward. Any questions? You all be very, very careful. Traffic is pretty crazy this morning. Thank you all for joining us.